Have you ever felt that you're not like everyone else, that you've been chosen for something greater, something beyond your immediate understanding? There are moments in life when you encounter someone or something that leaves you questioning everything. Moments when you feel as though your soul is awakening, calling you to remember who you truly are. But what if I told you that this awakening may not always come from divine sources? What if it's the fallen angels themselves, watching from the shadows, guiding you in ways that seem unfamiliar and yet strangely familiar? In this journey, we will explore what it means to be a chosen one and how encounters with fallen angels might shape your destiny, leaving an indelible mark on your soul. Together, we will dive into the mystery, uncover the signs, and understand the profound implications these encounters might have on your spiritual awakening. You're not just here by accident. There's a reason you found this video, and that reason is far deeper than you might think. The mystery of the chosen ones. When I was younger, I used to think that being chosen meant something dramatic. I imagined grand ceremonies, divine whispers, or even a sense of being set apart with clear signs of destiny. But as I grew older, I realized that being chosen isn't about the spectacle. It's about the quiet tug on your soul. It's about being called to something bigger than yourself, something that transcends the ordinary. You see, chosen ones aren't always the ones standing on stages or leading revolutions. Sometimes, they are those quietly walking through life, feeling the weight of an ancient responsibility they can't quite explain. Like many of you, I've had moments where I felt like I didn't belong, where I questioned why certain things in my life seemed to align with a deeper, almost otherworldly plan. And as I searched for answers, I began to understand that being a chosen one isn't about a title, it's about a path. It's about being awakened to a purpose you didn't choose, but that's always been part of your soul's journey. It's a path that sometimes feels lonely, filled with uncertainties, but also brimming with potential. You may have experienced moments when you felt a sudden shift in your life, like the universe was nudging you towards something higher. These moments, often misunderstood by others, are the milestones on your journey as a chosen one. It's easy to feel disconnected from the world around you, as if you're in a constant state of awakening, noticing things that others seem oblivious to. The challenge of the chosen ones is to learn how to navigate a world that often seems asleep, with the knowledge that you carry a divine purpose, even if you can't fully articulate it yet. But there's a deeper mystery to this path, one that involves an encounter with the unknown, the mysterious, and even the forbidden. The closer you get to understanding who you are, the more you might find yourself encountering forces that are far from divine, yet strangely enlightening. As chosen ones, you are not just connected to the light, but also to the shadows. And understanding these shadows, understanding the forces that walk in the dark, becomes an essential part of your awakening. The Book of Enoch and the Fallen Angels. Many of us are familiar with angels, the messengers of light, guardians of peace, and protectors of divine will. But in the Book of Enoch, we encounter a different kind of angel, fallen angels, beings who once stood at the highest of heavens, only to descend to earth in rebellion. These angels were led by figures like Azazel and Samiaza, whose names were whispered among those who sought to understand the depths of spiritual knowledge. Unlike the angels we typically envision, these beings sought more than just divine service. They sought power, understanding, and a connection to the human race. Their descent was not a fall from grace alone. It was an act of defiance against the very order of the heavens. They came to earth not as benevolent beings, but as teachers of forbidden knowledge, knowledge that had the power to shape humanity's destiny for better or worse. They imparted to humans the secrets of the heavens, arts of war, sorcery, and divine secrets that had long been hidden. The legacy of their teachings would leave humanity at a crossroads, ushering in progress and destruction in equal measure. As I read through the Book of Enoch, I couldn't help but wonder, what if we too carry some of the same forbidden knowledge? What if our journeys as chosen ones mirror that of the fallen angels? Our quest for deeper understanding sometimes leading us into murky waters, where the line between divine purpose and spiritual pride becomes blurred. These angels, in their quest for knowledge, unleashed a profound ripple effect on humanity. Their descent didn't just change the course of history, it forever altered the spiritual landscape of our world. And yet, their story is often hidden, forgotten, or misunderstood. They are cast as villains, but in truth, their actions reflect a deeper, more tragic aspect of the human experience: the desire for knowledge, the thirst for understanding, and the price we pay when we seek power without considering the cost. The impact of the fallen angels on humanity. The teachings of the fallen angels did not merely remain in the spiritual realm, they were transferred to humanity, shaping our civilization in ways that we still feel today. They brought with them a new understanding of the world, one that blurred the lines between the divine and the mortal. The knowledge they shared gave rise to technological advancements, cultural developments, and a deeper understanding of the mysteries of the universe. But with this knowledge came a heavy price. The angels didn't just impart wisdom, they introduced corruption. The same arts that sparked innovation also led to destruction. The arts of war, the power of sorcery, the manipulation of the natural world, all of these began to seep into human consciousness, leading to chaos, violence, and the breakdown of moral boundaries. It's almost as if humanity was given a glimpse of the divine, only to have it tainted by the very forces that had once been part of the celestial realm. As chosen ones, we are often confronted with the same duality in our spiritual journeys. We seek knowledge, understanding, and enlightenment, but in doing so, we must navigate the dangers that come with it. The desire for spiritual advancement can lead us to beautiful heights, but it can also lead us astray. It's a fine line, one that requires constant discernment. The impact of the fallen angels was not just a distant event of the past, it continues to reverberate through the fabric of humanity. The knowledge they left behind, whether consciously or subconsciously, has influenced every corner of human society. It's in our technology, our art, our philosophies, and even in our spiritual practices. The challenge for us, as awakened souls, is to navigate this legacy, to recognize the beauty of progress while remaining rooted in divine integrity. The fallen angel's story is not just one of destruction, it's a warning about the limits of ambition and the dangers of seeking knowledge without understanding its consequences. Signs you've met a fallen angel. Have you ever met someone who seemed to possess an unsettling depth of knowledge, someone whose words left you feeling both awed and disturbed? I remember the first time I met such a person. There was an energy about them that felt ancient. It wasn't just their words, it was the way they spoke, the way their eyes seemed to pierce through to your soul. It was as if they knew things they shouldn't have known. Their presence wasn't comforting, but it was captivating, like a shadow that follows you everywhere. At first, I didn't know what to make of it. But then, as time passed, I realized that this person, like many others I would encounter along my journey, wasn't just a regular human. They were a fallen angel in disguise. The signs were subtle, almost too faint to notice at first, but they were there. One of the first signs you might encounter is a sudden, overwhelming feeling of fear. It's not the fear of something tangible, but the fear of the unknown, the fear that something is watching you, waiting for you to awaken to the truth. It's a fear that lingers long after the encounter, a shadow that never quite leaves. Another sign is confusion. True divine encounters leave you with clarity, peace, and a deeper understanding of your spiritual path. But encounters with fallen angels often leave you in a fog, questioning everything you thought you knew, doubting your faith, and feeling disconnected from your spiritual center. The allure of hidden knowledge or power is another common sign. You may be drawn to the promises of secrets that will unlock your true potential, but beware. These promises come with a price. The knowledge they offer often leads to a greater sense of spiritual disconnection, not enlightenment. And lastly, a noticeable decline in your spiritual well-being is a sure sign you've encountered a fallen angel. The more you interact with them, the more you'll feel your energy drain. Your connection to the divine weaken. Your spiritual practices will feel like a chore, and you'll find it harder to connect to the things that once brought you peace. Recognizing these signs is crucial, for they offer a map to navigating the spiritual dangers that lurk in the shadows. And as chosen ones, we must always stay vigilant, aware of the forces that seek to lead us astray while we continue to walk in the light of truth. The dual nature of knowledge and power. Have you ever come across a moment when the pursuit of knowledge seemed intoxicating, when the promise of greater understanding or power pulled you in like a magnetic force? There was a time in my life when I was so deeply immersed in the quest for truth that it felt like I could touch the very fabric of the universe. I was consumed by the need to know more, to unlock the mysteries that lay beyond ordinary perception. I thought that knowledge, especially the hidden, esoteric kind, was the key to awakening, to unlocking my true potential. But what I learned through my own journey was that knowledge is not simply an innocent tool for growth. It is both a gift and a potential curse, a double-edged sword that can either elevate you or pull you into realms of darkness. In the Book of Enoch, we learn that the fallen angels came to earth with a similar thirst for knowledge, a desire to share the forbidden truths of the universe with humanity. They imparted knowledge of war, sorcery, and hidden arts that pushed humanity into realms of innovation, but also conflict and destruction. They gave humanity the tools to grow, yet with them came the seeds of corruption. This dual nature of knowledge, its ability to both illuminate and destroy, echoes throughout history. Think about the greatest advancements of humankind. Every technological marvel, every scientific discovery, every piece of art that challenged the boundaries of our world. Yet, how often these breakthroughs also opened doors to darker paths? The question I struggled with, and perhaps you have too, is, how can something so transformative, so enlightening, also be so dangerous? I found that the true nature of knowledge is that it isn't inherently good or bad. It's the way we wield it that determines its impact. When I began to understand this, I realized that knowledge is meant to be used with great responsibility. It's about balance. Too much of it, without wisdom, leads to pride, greed, and manipulation. Too little of it leaves us in ignorance and spiritual stagnation. As a chosen one, this balance becomes even more critical. You have the capacity to learn, to understand the deeper workings of the world, but you also have the responsibility to wield that knowledge in a way that doesn't lead you down a path of self-destruction. Knowledge and power, when used correctly, can be catalysts for change, but when used incorrectly, they lead to an imbalance in the spiritual and physical realms. Just like the fallen angels who sought to possess knowledge for their own gain, we must ask ourselves, are we seeking knowledge for the betterment of ourselves and others, or are we simply looking for power to control and dominate? The duality of knowledge and power is a lesson that the fallen angels taught us, not just in the grand cosmic story, but in our own lives. When you find yourself on this path of seeking, remember that it is the purity of your intention that determines whether you are elevating yourself or descending into darkness. Discernment and the path to spiritual clarity. There are moments in life when everything feels hazy, when you feel like you're walking through a fog, unsure of where the path ahead leads. It's as if the world is full of noise and you can't hear your inner voice anymore. I remember a time in my life when I was so overwhelmed with external distractions and conflicting advice that I lost touch with my own spiritual clarity. It was as though I had become lost in the noise of the world, and in doing so, I couldn't find my way back to the truth of who I was. If you've ever felt that way, then you know how disorienting it can be. The world is filled with so many voices, so many opinions, teachings, and philosophies that it can be hard to distinguish the truth from the false. This is where discernment becomes an essential tool in your spiritual journey. Discernment is the ability to perceive, to understand, and to navigate the complexities of spiritual encounters. It's not about simply accepting things at face value. It's about digging deeper, asking the right questions, and trusting your intuition when something doesn't feel right. When I first encountered the teachings of the fallen angels, I was struck by how alluring their wisdom seemed. It was a seductive knowledge, one that promised to unlock hidden truths about the universe, but something inside me hesitated. I couldn't ignore the unsettling feeling that came with it. This was a defining moment for me, a moment when I realized that not every path leads to enlightenment. Some paths, though they appear shiny and promising, lead to spiritual confusion and chaos. Discernment is the tool that allows you to see beyond the surface, to cut through the noise and false promises. It's the ability to look at a situation or teaching and feel the subtle energy beneath it. Is it aligned with your highest good? Does it bring peace and clarity? Or does it stir up confusion and fear? As you navigate your spiritual path, you will encounter many teachings, some of which may sound convincing and others that might seem completely out of place. The key is to use discernment to filter what resonates with your soul's purpose and what doesn't. When you develop your discernment, you start to recognize the subtle differences between true divine teachings and those that come from places of manipulation or self-interest. True spiritual clarity never leaves you feeling lost or confused. It always brings you back to the center, to your authentic self. If you feel more lost or confused after an encounter, it's likely that what you've encountered is not aligned with divine truth. True wisdom, after all, is simple. It doesn't complicate things, it brings peace and understanding. And so, as you walk your path, ask yourself, am I following a path that brings me peace or one that brings confusion? The ability to discern truth from illusion is not just a gift, it's a responsibility. As chosen ones, we are entrusted with the task of seeing through the fog and walking with clarity toward our divine purpose. The spiritual awakening process and the role of community. There are few experiences in life as profound as spiritual awakening. It's a journey that shifts your entire perspective on reality, that opens your eyes to things you may never have noticed before. I remember when my own awakening began, it was like the veil had been lifted, and for the first time, I saw the world in its true form. Everything around me felt heightened, colors were more vivid, sounds more distinct, and emotions ran deeper. But with that awakening also came a sense of isolation. The more I awakened, the more I felt like I was moving away from the world I once knew. I became aware of how many people were still asleep, still stuck in their routines, living in the material world without understanding the deeper spiritual truths that lay just beneath the surface. It's not easy being spiritually awake in a world that often seems unaware of its true nature. But what I've come to understand over time is that spiritual awakening is not just a solo journey, it's one that requires the support and guidance of a community. When I was at my lowest point, questioning my purpose and what I had learned, it was the support of like-minded individuals, those who shared the same spiritual quest, that helped me find my way. The power of community cannot be overstated in the spiritual journey. While the awakening process is deeply personal, it is through connection with others that we find validation, support, and strength. There's a reason why we're called to walk this path together, to share our insights, struggles, and triumphs. The fallen angels in their rebellion were isolated in their pursuit of knowledge. They chose a path of independence and pride, believing that they could surpass the divine. But in doing so, they severed themselves from the very source of their power and guidance. They didn't have a community to support them or to help them discern their path. The awakening process can be challenging. It can feel lonely, disorienting, and sometimes even overwhelming. But it is in the community, in the fellowship of others who are also awakening, that we find the strength to continue. Whether it's through a spiritual group, a mentor, or even the collective consciousness of those on a similar journey, community serves as the anchor that keeps us grounded. The path of the chosen ones is not meant to be walked alone. We are all connected by a higher purpose, and it is through our shared experiences and wisdom that we grow and evolve. So, if you find yourself feeling lost or unsure, remember that community is there to guide you back to your center. Together, we are stronger. The legacy of the fallen angels and its relevance today. As I reflect on the story of the fallen angels, I can't help but think about the impact they've had not only on humanity's spiritual history, but also on our modern world. Their story is more than just a myth. It's a warning, a lesson about the consequences of overreaching, of seeking knowledge and power without understanding the deeper costs. The fallen angels taught us that knowledge and power are not ends in themselves. They are tools that must be wielded with great care. In today's world, we are seeing the same struggle, the same battle between progress and integrity, between knowledge and wisdom. Technological advancements, scientific breakthroughs, and cultural shifts are happening at an unprecedented rate, and with them comes the same temptation to push the boundaries of what we know, to seek more without fully understanding the implications. The fallen angel story is relevant today because it speaks to this very struggle. We are at a crossroads. Much like humanity was when the angels descended, we are being offered knowledge, both spiritual and technological, that can transform our world for the better. But as with the fallen angels, the question is, are we prepared for the consequences? The legacy of the fallen angels is not just a tale of tragedy. It's a reminder of the delicate balance between knowledge, power, and spiritual integrity. As we navigate our modern world, we must remember the lessons they imparted, the importance of using knowledge for the greater good, the need for discernment in our spiritual journeys, and the understanding that true power comes not from domination, but from alignment with the divine. The legacy of the fallen angels serves as a mirror for our current time, urging us to tread carefully and to always question the true source and intent behind the knowledge we seek. Are we, like the fallen angels, seeking power for our own gain, or are we using the wisdom we've gained to elevate ourselves and those around us? The choice is ours, and it's a choice that will shape not just our spiritual destiny, but the destiny of humanity itself. The importance of spiritual protection. I still remember a moment from my early spiritual journey when everything seemed to be going right. I had embraced the path I was on, feeling more connected to my purpose, more aligned with the universe, and for the first time in my life, I believed that I was truly walking in the light. But as is often the case when you begin to rise spiritually, you also begin to draw attention not just from the divine, but from forces that seek to throw you off course. I had always heard about the importance of spiritual protection, but I never really understood its weight until the moment I began to feel the pull of negative forces. It wasn't like a dramatic attack, but it was more subtle, a sense of heaviness, a quiet but persistent drain on my energy. There were days when I felt like I was swimming against the tide, my thoughts clouded, my spirit weary. It was as though the very things I was working towards spiritually were being undermined by unseen forces. That's when I realized spiritual protection isn't just about prayer or affirmations. It's a proactive force that needs to be cultivated, nurtured, and maintained. Think about it. Just as we protect our physical bodies from harm, we must also protect our spiritual selves from influences that seek to weaken our connection to the divine. The fallen angels, with their rebellion, didn't just abandon the divine, they actively sought to corrupt the human race. In their thirst for power and knowledge, they introduced the concept of spiritual imbalance into the world, teaching humanity the dangers of overreaching without the proper foundation. The importance of spiritual protection, then, lies in maintaining that balance. It's about keeping your mind, heart, and soul guarded so that you can discern truth from illusion, light from darkness. Protection doesn't mean hiding from the world. It means standing strong, surrounded by the divine armor that allows you to engage with the world without losing your sense of self. I learned that spiritual protection is both an internal and external practice. Internally, it's about cultivating self-awareness, maintaining boundaries, and staying rooted in your truth. Externally, it's about creating a space, both physically and energetically, where negativity cannot enter. This could mean being selective about the energies you allow into your life, being mindful of the people you interact with, and even protecting your space through rituals, prayer, or visualization. It's easy to forget how vulnerable we can be to negative energy, especially when we're spiritually awakened. Our heightened sensitivity makes us more susceptible to spiritual attacks, but it also gives us the tools to protect ourselves. I learned that the more I aligned myself with the divine, the more power I had to shield myself from harm. Protection becomes a cycle. When you protect your energy, you align more deeply with the divine, And when you align with the divine, you strengthen your protection. The truth is that we live in a world that is constantly at war on the unseen planes. There are forces that seek to lead us astray, to sow doubt, fear, and confusion in our hearts. But the beauty of spiritual protection is that it reminds us we are never alone. Divine protection is always available. We just need to be willing to invite it into our lives, to recognize it, and to trust in it. The fallen angels taught humanity the dangers of spiritual pride, but they also gave us a blueprint for how to guard against those very forces. By embracing spiritual protection, we reclaim our power, fortify our spirit, and walk confidently in the light, knowing that we are always shielded by divine love. Embracing the journey of the chosen ones. There was a time in my life when I resisted my spiritual calling. I felt the pull, the whisper of something deeper calling me to step into my purpose, but I was afraid. I didn't fully understand what it meant to be a chosen one, nor did I feel ready for the responsibilities that came with it. It was a lot easier to ignore the whispers, to stay in the comfort of the familiar, than it was to step into the unknown. But eventually, as is always the case with those who are chosen, the pull became too strong to ignore. I realized that I could no longer deny the path that was being laid out before me, and though I was scared, I knew it was time to embrace it. The journey of the chosen ones is never easy. It's not a path paved with certainty or devoid of challenges. Instead, it is a path filled with growth, transformation, and deep inner work. But there is a beauty in that, a sacred beauty in the unfolding of your soul's purpose. When I fully embraced my role as a chosen one, I realized that it wasn't just about me, it was about something greater. It's about being a vessel through which divine energy flows, a channel through which the world can be changed. The journey of the chosen ones isn't about fame, power, or recognition. It's about service. It's about using the gifts we've been given to help others, to spread love and light, and to be a source of truth in a world that desperately needs it. But to embrace this journey requires a deep commitment to self-awareness, to growth, and to transformation. The fallen angels, in their rebellion, chose a path that ultimately led to their downfall. They sought power, knowledge, and control without understanding the deeper consequences of their actions. Their journey was marked by pride, and in that pride, they became disconnected from the divine. The journey of the chosen ones, in contrast, requires humility. It's about acknowledging that we are not the masters of our destiny, but co-creators with the divine. It's about recognizing that our gifts, our knowledge, and our power are not ours to hoard. They are meant to be shared, to help heal, to help others awaken to their own divine truth. The path isn't always clear, and sometimes it feels like you're walking through the wilderness. But each step you take is a step toward alignment with your soul's purpose. And even when you face hardships, those hardships are part of your growth. They are the fire through which you are being refined. Embracing the journey of the chosen ones is about trusting the process, knowing that every challenge, every lesson, every encounter is shaping you into the person you are meant to be. It's about finding the courage to stand in your truth, to walk with integrity, and to trust that the divine has already paved the way for you. It's about stepping into the fullness of who you are and letting that light shine brightly for all to see. The journey may be difficult, but it is also beautiful. And when you embrace it fully, you realize that you are never alone on this path. You are surrounded by the love and guidance of the divine, always supporting you as you walk the road ahead. Conclusion. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with one final thought. The path of the chosen ones is not one of destiny alone, it's a path of choice. We all have the power to step into our purpose, to embrace our spiritual journey, and to walk in the light of divine guidance. But that choice requires us to be aware of the forces that seek to lead us astray, the fallen angels, the distractions, and the illusions that surround us. The story of the fallen angels is not just a cautionary tale. It is a lesson about the dangers of pride, the allure of forbidden knowledge, and the consequences of straying from divine truth. But it is also a reminder that we, as chosen ones, have the power to reclaim our path, to align ourselves with the divine, and to walk forward with wisdom, strength, and clarity. The journey may be long, and at times it may seem uncertain, but trust that every step is leading you closer to your true self. You are not alone in this. The divine is always with you, guiding you, protecting you, and supporting you every step of the way. As you continue your journey, remember that you are part of something greater, a larger narrative that spans across time and space, connecting all of us in the pursuit of truth, love, and spiritual growth. Embrace your journey, embrace your purpose, and always remember that the light you seek is within you, guiding you toward your highest destiny.